All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Realtor Spotlight. We're here with three amazing guests today, Aaron, Rebecca, and Gil. People were more critical. They're still critical now, especially on TikTok. The trolls come out quick,
Yeah.
but I think friends and family were way more critical 6 years ago because it's like, who the fuck do you think you are
Right.
putting out a video?
Right.
Like, I
Right.
know you know what I'm saying? And you get comments like that. I mean, you still get some shade every now and then from a family member, but like when video was like reserved for like TV people,
Right.
and all of a sudden you're coming out of nowhere talking about, and this is where I see interest rates coming from, and they're like, who the hell are you? I was just wiping your ass a few years ago, like who the hell are you? So
It's doing
I
Sunday-
think that has
Sunday
subsided
sauce
a little bit because now even the regular everyday person, friend, family member, grandma knows that like this is how you get business and this is a part of your business. But and you also naturally get better at video over time.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
actually
funny
had
that you mentioned that.
I actually had family members reach out to me, and because we would put like just listed, just like we were putting out what we were doing, right? And they would DM me and they would be like, "Is that real? Are you really doing that many houses? Are you really doing that? Is this just are you just putting this out there to make it look like you're doing this?" And I'm like,
I like this
I was
topic.
like, "No, we're actually doing that. Like this is what we do every day. When I say I work all the time, this is me. I'm
Right.
working all the time, right?"
I like this topic. I had somebody. So I got into the business when I was 20. Naturally, 20 to 25-year-old guys aren't the nicest to their friends or their quote unquote friends, right?
Right.
Just busting balls and
Always.
so here I am, previous to mortgages, I baked bagels. Like there was no other job. There was no other experience. And here I am showing up after work in a like 3 sizes too big white shirt with black dress pants, looking like a waiter. And my quote unquote friends were like, why don't you go grab me some water or whatever? Like they were making these comments. One even told me, why don't you just quit? Nobody's ever going to get a mortgage from you.
Wow, that's crazy.
And that same person, I hope he's watching right now, that same person now works in the union. And guess who sends me a ton of referrals? So-and-so wants to buy a house. Call Eric. So-and-so wants to buy a house. Call. So
did that person motivate you, or how did you handle that?
I don't think it was that person. It's not like I went to bed at night and I thought about that moment. Now I think about it a lot when this conversation comes up, just because it's like I remember that, right? But I think it was not only did I feel like other people were doubting me, I think what motivated me even more was I would doubt myself. Like I didn't believe that I could be successful.
Right.
And like I actually wanted to prove to myself more than anybody else, because I have that inferiority complex. And it's funny because I can like think I'm the best at the start of the day, and then like 3 hours go by and I'm the worst. It's like constantly the extremes.
It's a battle with yourself. It's
And
not a battle with everybody
actually,
else.
Alex Hormozy talks about this. He said there's 3 qualities of a successful person. They think they're the best, but then they also think they're the worst, and then they have like grit and can stick things out. So yeah, if somebody's doubting you and telling you to quit the real estate business and asking you are your listings are real, just keep it moving. Just keep working. And I think you guys are, all 3 of you are very successful. So what would you, speaking of like newer agents, kind of, what would you recommend to a newer agent? Let's start with you, Gil. Just like a little gem, and maybe we'll throw out a few so you don't have to feel like you gotta.
Well, the first thing I always tell every new agent is to tell their friends and family, if they have another part-time job, all their coworkers, that they're in real estate. Make an announcement, get your business cards, text, email, put it on your social media, because it all starts from there, right? Like in the beginning, no one knows you,
Right.
so you have to make everybody aware immediately, because you never know. Obviously, your friends and family should be the first ones to give you a shot when you have no business, right?
Right.
So I always start off from there, and then now it's just about, I always tell people they have to be consistent, right? And to understand that it's going to take some time and put in the hard work more than anything.
I think it's funny because there's a lot of people with their real estate license that don't even
Do anything.
well, yeah, that too. But like, wouldn't it,
know
it would
what they're
make
doing.
sense? Like, I get my real estate license. Let me tell people. Honestly, that is what every single strategy is about. Whether it's social media, podcast, like we talked about, a show like this, door knocking, cold calling, mailers. You are literally just telling more people in different ways that you do real estate.
Yeah, correct.
And then if you do that consistently, like you said, then you see results. But that, I think the hardest part, after you get over yourself and take that initial step, the hardest part is the consistency, because I was speaking to somebody this morning, and like, you have to move on from losses in this business extremely fast. Like, the faster
with
you,
no emotion. Like,
yeah, with no
Yeah.
just get past it.
ask Gil about his day yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Your
It's-
day
it
is
was like,
constantly,
boom, boom,
it is an emotional roller coaster.
Correct.
And that doesn't really, I hate phrasing it that way, because that really doesn't give it justice.
It's a
Just
country song.
Yeah, you're just
Up, down, up, down.
so you're just taking a beating
Yeah.
all day, and that's why it's difficult to stay consistent, especially if the stuff that you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing, but you're not seeing results.
Correct.
So I don't know if you have any advice or want to share your day from yesterday.
Well, yesterday was a unique day. I haven't had one of those in a while, but basically, I don't know, in 20 years, I think maybe 3 or so houses have ever fell out of contract. I had one fell out of contract, and the reason being is it was subject to them selling their house. You know, it's a long story, but it was frustrating because things. I always think, like, what could have been done to prevent it. I was
Right.
dealing with an agent that from the beginning, he was terrible to deal with. When I kept on asking him for updates, and he said his attorney, the buyer's attorney, refused to communicate with him. That was like a red flag.
Yeah,
And then I'm like, can you call the buyer direct? And he's like, she's not really getting back to me. And then he would say, can you call the seller's attorney and have them reach out to the buyer's attorney and all these things. The good thing was that we was only in contract a little bit over 3 weeks, so they didn't waste that much time.
Okay, good.
A buyer was supposed to sign the lease. All of a sudden, they have the lease. They agree to everything. They're saying, we're not signing the lease. Just other things like that. But you know what? I would have normally been more down on myself, but I'm like, the house is going to resell. I'm
Right.
going to find someone else to lease this house. And the other couple of things, I'm just like, and then now I think that next week, this won't really matter. Or like a couple weeks from now, this won't really matter. And just at the end of the day, beating yourself up over it is not going to help, right? So now the seller just wants me to find him another buyer. So what I did, I was like, his attorney called me, which I thought was great, and I was the first person to find out that the deal died. So immediately I'm like, did you call the seller yet? He's like, no, I'm giving you a heads up. So I called up the owner of the house, and I'm like, listen, I just heard from your attorney. They said they were going to call you in a few minutes, but I already put the house back on the market, doing open houses Saturday and
immediately
Sunday.
into solutions.
Like, yeah, exactly. Being proactive about selling it. And luckily, he's one of those guys that was very nice about it, right? He wasn't pissed off at me, because going into it, I explained to him that the buyer needed to sell, right? And that's ultimately why the deal died.
And that's, I mean, as a real estate agent, what more could you have done? You found out that it was contingent on a sale. A lot of realtors wouldn't even go that far.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
they're looking at offers on the table, a lot of realtors just don't know to ask that simple question. And it's not like the buyer's agent is going to be so forthcoming about it.
You have no reason to be unless you're asked.
Right. So it would put them at a disadvantage, right? So you having that experience, and then all of the warning signs, right? The spidey senses were going off. I'm selling a house right now, and I'm getting, my spidey senses are going off, because I'm asking the loan officer where the clear to close is, and he's just like, should be the end of the month, but we've had a commitment for a month. So like, why? What's going on? I know from experience that's not normal timelines.
I do this for a
and
living.
that's
Yeah,
the thing
yeah.
too. You have to be very proactive, right? If I wasn't on top of this agent, the average agent would have just let. They would have asked for an extension. It would have been granted. It would have wasted another
Right.
30 days,
You'd have been
and
in
then
contract for-
ultimately,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it was under a month, which that's the one thing that I was kind of okay with. I was like, because 2-3 months later, the market changes, more carrying costs, dealing
Right.
with investors. So, it was a tough day, but
Just another
made it,
day in
like
real
you
estate.
said.
Yeah.
You made it, like you said, and then you also you're like, a week from now this won't be a problem. So like, the faster, to my point exactly, like you have to be able to move on from the losses quickly. You got to
Yeah.
put the raincoat on, as my partner said, always says. The person that I was having that conversation with, he trains jiu-jitsu, and so do I.
Oh.
And that's what we connected over, and it relates back to jiu-jitsu a lot because most people don't stick with jiu-jitsu for a long period of time because you literally get your ass beat every
Yeah.
day. Like it comes with the territory. That's why you don't know many black belts
yeah,
in jiu-jitsu because it takes years to do so, meaning you got to get your ass kicked for years.
yeah.
So he's a new realtor, and he's like, if I could do that, then I could do this. But it's just constantly, like we said, emotional roller coaster. But what would you recommend to a newer agent aside from the stuff that we said?
Before I say something, I want to piggyback off of two things you guys said. You said about being a secret agent.
Right.
One of my mistakes is I was a secret agent. I didn't tell any of my friends. I was in the REO business. All I had to deal with, I was getting leads 30 to 50 a week. I didn't have to deal with friends.
Right.
So no one really knew, and I was around a lot of people all the time. Short story, I sat down with like 10 to 15 of my lacrosse buddies at a reunion with them, and we just started talking, and everyone's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Like, Bates, we didn't know that you're a real estate agent. I just bought my second house. This guy goes, "I'm in contract for a house." "Oh, I was a realtor and I hated it so much. I would have 100% hired you." I'm going through and I'm thinking $10,000. I had $100,000 sitting at that table right there
Because you didn't.
because they didn't fucking know that I was a realtor. Like,
Right.
don't be a secret agent. Best advice ever.
Yeah.
The other thing that made me think of something you said that just triggered this is getting into real estate in the beginning. I was always in my own way. That everything I did, I always need to know more. I need to know everything about it before I actually get into it. That kind of like stalled me for too long. You kind of just got to dive head first, fail, figure it out, solve the problem. And I think actually something that Dean Miller told me years ago, he's like, you're not going to know everything, but you're going to know somebody that knows it, right? So I'm not going to know everything about mortgages, but I could call you up and ask you about it.
Right.
I'm not going to know everything about fair housing rules, but I'll ask Rebecca.
Right.
Like,
She's an
right?
expert.
Yeah. Like there's a ton of things, and nor do I need to know everything.
Right.
So that would be two key pieces of advice there. But my advice for a new agent is do the heavy lifting up front. Especially when you're the slowest, and I think we talked about this yesterday or something, is like, it's tough once you get into the business and all of a sudden you have all this business and you have to stop to what seems to step back 5 steps to set up your business.
Right.
And that's like SOPs, like your processes, your just your
Systems
email,
and-
your systems, everything, just your email. Like, do that heavy lifting up front, start database and start using a CRM. Like I said, when I first started, I had 30 to 50 leads coming to me per week.
Right. You would.
I had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
Right.
So like, can you just imagine and I was doing it for so long. My first year alone, I probably had over 300 people that could have been in my database. That because I didn't database them, and they are out of my phone now because I lost them.
Right.
I could still be doing business with those people.
Right.
So it just, everybody, like, you get into this business and you're like, you have to make money, right? Especially if you don't have another job.
Right.
You have to just go forward, try to make money. Do all the systems and processes up front, start databasing your people. So when you do get busy, it's so much
It's on
easier.
autopilot. And you'll make tweaks along the way and change stuff, and
We still
yeah,
are.
right.
Always.
Making
it's a
tweaks.
never ending. That's was frustrating to me because I've been putting standard operating procedures in place forever, but then something happens where all of a sudden we're inundated with business because rates go lower, and I have to change this about the process because we have to get the loans into underwriting faster because underwriting is taking longer. So it used to frustrate me, like constantly having to change and improve it, but now I accepted the fact that like that's what I will be doing till I'm out of this business, and it's never going to be perfect. But I think to your point, setting that stuff up is going to give you a clear runway, right? And I think the reason why a lot of realtors when they first get started don't do that is because they don't know to, because they never had to do that before, right? Usually you work a job, you're given standard operating procedures.
You're showing up at 9, you're leaving
Right.
at 5, you're clocking in, clocking out.
And when I used to bake bagels, it's like, this is how you bake the bagels, right? And you also need to wash the dishes by 2:00. And in case I call you, be ready with this and mop the floors at around 3 because you're going to leave at 4. So like being the person to actually put together those standard operating procedures is new. And people just aren't thinking like a business owner to begin with when they first get started, which I'm saying that from experience.
Oh, in our industry, probably 95% of the people are not thinking like a business owner.
Even years in the business, right?
Even years in the business, and that is the flaw, the flaw of our business.
Yeah.
It is, and I think that's the reason why we have so many people that come in and come out, come in and come out, come in and come out. The people that somehow they made it to 25 years, like Gil made it for 20 years because he knew what he was doing.
How many years?
20.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know that? Who's that Kevin Hart scene? Can you? Yeah.
Why did he say it like that?
Cue that up right now, Train. Thank you.
And me, I'm 56 years old. Damn!
I'm sorry. Because it was a
So
thought.
it's-
No, seriously. It was
Dude,
a
I don't
thought.
care.
It was
I'm
a
not-
thought, and I blurted it out.
I'm
I did
fine.
not mean it that way.
I'm fine.
Okay, but just
not.
understand I didn't mean it the way it came out.
We'll take a poll on how you meant it.
So,
But he's not. But he's not the person that gets on the phone and first line says, "Well, I've been doing this for 20 years."
not at all.
Fucking hate that.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate that. It's
That
the
is
worst.
The worst.
At
It
this
is
point, I feel like
absolutely the
I'm
worst.
giving up my age. So
Yeah.
everybody
Right.
thought I was like in my early 30s, and then like now they're doing the math. Like, all right, you got to be close to 40. So
Yeah. You didn't get started when you were 10.
Yeah.
So
we think.
What about you, Rebecca? Your one piece of advice, or maybe piggybacking on something that we said to newer agents.
So I think that the first thing that's the most important thing that I ever learned, I learned it from Aaron, which is,
there you go.
Respect.
so I learned that you should take something away from every experience. So every table you sit at, every meeting you go to, every interaction you have with another person, you should take something away from it and learn from it, which is the absolute most important thing. The other thing that I want people to think about as a new agent or as an inexperienced agent who wants to really make this into something valuable for them is not just do you need to treat your real estate business like a business, but you are the CEO and the number one employee,
Right.
right? So if you're the CEO and you're the number one employee, you need to set the standard and you need to hold yourself accountable to that standard, right? So you should show up, number
Right.
one.
Right.
You need to show up when you say you're going to show up, where you need to be, and do what you need to do.
Right.
And I actually put this on social media the other day, and it was about I had passed by a sign, and it said, "Now hiring people who show up." I don't know for sure, but I'm sure it was a real estate office. It had to be. It makes perfect sense.
Right.
People who show up. And time again,
It's our
we're
new
working
motto.
with people who won't show up for themselves, and we show up for them. We show up to the meeting.
Right.
We show up to the call. We reach out to them,
Right.
but they don't show up for themselves.
Right.
So, and and at that point, it's like, wait, how many times am I going to show up for you if you're not going to show up for you?
Right.
Right. So it's like show up for yourself, be the CEO of your business,
Of your life.
be the number one employee
Right.
of your business, and show up for your job as if you have a boss that's not you.
Right. Right.
Right. You show up as if somebody else is holding you accountable.
You think
Hold
that's-
yourself to a better standard than anybody else will ever hold you.
You think that's the problem though? It's because like they don't have a boss, so it's like it's almost like less motivation because it's themselves.
They're
I-
like- yeah,
you know what I'm
because
saying?
100%.
sometimes like you don't want to
Like I can't fire me.
Right.
So like, you know,
But you know
what's
what? When I
what's the
don't
worst
show
that can
up,
happen?
I am incredibly disappointed in myself.
Because you set the standard and you want
Yes.
to carry it out. But what
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I was gonna say sometimes people don't want to let down others, but they will let down themselves.
Yeah.
You know.
So much easier to let yourself
Exactly,
down.
because you're like, like whatever. I didn't go to the gym, no big deal. I didn't go door knocking. I didn't do my calls. I didn't book my schedule, And I always tell, actually, like, so Jasenia and my girl got into the business, and the reason being is she was an accountant, right? And I saw her work like 16-hour days, and I'm like, if you get into real estate, I didn't convince her to get into it. She
Right.
she did it on her own. I was like, with that work ethic, you're gonna kill it, because most realtors, they work like an hour or two, and they make any phone call, they justify like they had a busy day doing anything, and I'm just like,
I had a
Rough
lunch
day.
meeting.
Yeah.
I had a
Right.
2-hour
whatever,
lunch
yeah, it
meeting
could
with
be
3
anything,
drinks.
and they're
How
like,
many loan officers can you go have lunch with a week before you're like, this isn't productive?
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
And they wonder why we ghost them
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Instagram.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, I think that Jordan Peterson actually. I don't know. You know who Jordan
I love
Peterson?
Jordan
yeah.
Peterson.
So like he talks about like he's a psychologist, right? Psychologist. He taught at some prestigious school in I think Canada or wherever. I think. Anyway, he talks about like
Upstate
how
New York is not Canada.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's where you're from, right?
Yeah,
Upstate New York.
yeah.
Where?
Finger Lakes between Rochester
Sorry
and
to hear that.
Syracuse.
All right. But he talks about like how
It's not Buffalo.
like let's say the doctor gives you medicine.
mhm.
If it's your medicine, you won't take it. Like you take it for a little bit and then you fall off. But like if you're in charge of like giving your dog medicine, it's like that the dog never misses a freaking thing. So it's like this weird internal like belief that we have. I can't explain it as like beautifully as he does, but I think that kind of explains like
Well,
a big
Yeah.
problem with humans in general.
well, mom over here will feed her kids and get them to school,
And
get them
she won't-
changed, shower them, and well, she doesn't shower them anymore, but she won't eat.
She'll shower though, right?
You'll shower, right? Yeah, she,
Most of
yeah,
the
she
time.
showered. but yeah, it's the same exact thing. Like
It's-
do for others, but you
it's
won't
odd.
do for yourself.
Actually, that's something that I've had to. That's a topic that I've had to actually put real time and effort into for myself, and still now. But I mean, it's been like a years long process of.
Right.
I started working in real estate, and I started working by working my ass off. Right, I was a single mom, worked my ass off in real estate, did a lot of really really great things, but I have burnt out multiple times.
Right.
Right, and I didn't burn out because I'm juggling being a parent and having a job, right? That's not why I burnt out. I burnt out because I consistently chose to put every single thing in my life
Before you-
above myself.
Which is a common thing with women in general.
Yes,
Not men though. We're selfish.
you guys are pigs. But we love you so much.
It's like we just put everything before everybody else,
Right,
and that's why we're so happy all the
Yeah.
time.
right, because you have people
then-
who
so
put
you-
you above them.
Yes. Shout out to all the wonderful women that allow me to be selfish. So
Ditto.
let's talk about. So we touched on like a bunch of stuff, a bunch of really cool stuff. But let's talk about where you guys are at today and like the exciting thing that you're working on and starting to execute and have already executed. And whoever wants to jump in first, like, so you've recently made the change
Yeah.
to Real,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Opening a new office.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about that, what the experience has been, what you guys are trying to do.
Okay. So, I mean, we more or less joined around the same time. Real like in end of April, I think it was when
Yeah, April
from when I
something.
look at my app.
Yeah.
But basically, like I was at a company, right, that it was fine. I was just getting high commission. I was on my own, and but I wasn't collaborating with anybody and growing, and I wasn't really looking for a change. But I found Real. Um, I did all my research by myself, and then I contacted Ed, which is Ed Stulek, which
Stulek,
is the
yeah,
guy
yeah.
that I decided. I just said, listen, I done my research on Real. You're a cool guy. Like I happened to run into him like twice within a month at two networking events. Then I joined, and shortly after that, I made that going back into like being out there. Right, I was excited. I made the announcement, and I didn't know Aaron was in the middle of making a move himself. Right, and that's when we decided to talk, and he was almost committed to go somewhere else, and we decided to like join forces, and we both had the same vision. That's the thing, like we both had the same vision with and him and Rebecca, and this is kind of where we're at now.
I've known Gil probably since I got into real estate, maybe early on, and I noticed that he made this move. And I called him in the morning. And I said, "Can we do lunch in an hour and a half or 2 hours?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
Such a fast day.
And I called. I was probably standing next to her. I said, "Rebecca, we're doing lunch in like 2 hours. Do you have time?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right." So we did this. Sat down with Gail. Went over everything. We were there for about an hour and a half. Right? She left. I stayed for another half an
Yeah.
hour. Left there. Called her up and I said, "We're making this move. Let's do it. Let's
And I was
execute
like,
and go."
100%, you're right. We are.
What made you feel like it was the good move? Because just and again for people who are watching that don't know you, it's not like you guys are like you're just moving on looking for a better split, or you guys are new and you just want more mentorship, and like it's not, like when people like you move, it's different. It's a little bit more calculated. Like you said, you did your research and then you reached out to somebody. I always say like you don't recruit good people, you attract them.
Mm.
You can recruit a
And that's
brand
the
new
model.
yeah, right.
And like it really
yeah.
is an attraction based model that we're at.
So and look at how it happened, and it's clear. But like, what made you, after having that conversation, know that it was the right decision? Because it wasn't like a light decision. It's not like, oh, what are we eating today?
Right.
It's like you guys are established to the point where it's like you got to know. So what made you know?
So I think I'm speaking for Rebecca here too. We're always looking for more, right? Like, and when I mean more, not like more in splits, more in money and everything else, just more fulfilling, right?
Right.
So just being another real estate agent with a traditional model or like with a franchise or whatever, we wanted more. Whether that's ownership or that's running our own business, or we're always running our own business, but running our own branch, running our own real estate company, and
Like,
so we're seeking
really
that.
looking for something incredibly fulfilling.
Right.
A place to be that fulfills us, because we're looking at the short term game and the long term game, right? And we knew what we didn't want, and we really wanted to run towards something that we were proud of. Was a big part of it. So like the company culture, we knew it was something that we could stand behind and be proud of, was one piece. And also that we were kind of back and forth between this concept of, do we be a part of a franchise? Do we become owners in an existing franchise, right? Do we build our own franchise, or do we build our own company? Do we go with a cloud-based company? Those are kind of like the three pillars that we were really looking at. And we really wanted something of our own. We're not on our way out of real estate. We're going to be around for a long time. We wanted something of our own that we could be proud of. And being with a cloud-based company enabled us to build that thing that we're proud of and that we have some ownership of without spending our time on administrative stuff.
Everything that comes with starting.
We spent a year doing, and like it was awful, right? Like the administrative stuff. Like that was
Aaron,
terrible.
I can't. You don't do paperwork, do you?
He hasn't done paperwork in 6 years.
I haven't wrote an offer in 5 years.
You've made plenty though.
100% verbally to
Verbally.
Rebecca or our assistant or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca, write this offer up.
Yeah, I could write one up, but it would take me a half an hour.
And
She
it would
does
be
it in
on
30
paper
seconds. Like
with pen.
it would probably be on a
Crayon.
bar nap in pencil.
Yeah. Well, that's
I don't think Aaron knows how to write an offer or schedule a showing anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's
True.
So, and it's funny because people want to start their company until they understand, start their own company until they understand what comes with starting your own company. And then when you really, really think about it, unless that is what you truly, truly, truly want, which you may be lying to yourself, it's not worth it. At the end, when it all boils down to like all the extra responsibilities and liabilities and overhead that you pick up, it's actually not that better than where you're currently at. And that's
Liability and overhead was a big piece of that decision.
same thing with starting a team, right? A lot of people swear they want a team. That's like, oh, that's the next step. Let me be a team leader, right? And then they find out like it's not even real estate anymore. Like it's a completely different list of responsibilities.
Babysitting number one.
The not only setting the standard, but carrying out the standard and meeting somebody more than halfway and investing. And then all of a sudden you're not actually doing what you like, which is selling real estate at some point. Now, some people really want that, and that's a different story. But a lot of people just think that's what they want, is my point. So what do you think about Real is exciting to agents?
Well, there's many things, right? So, for example, I think the model of the future is a company that caps, right? Because eventually, when you get to the level you're making 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, right? You don't want to always be paying the brokerage that 20%, that override forever.
Or franchise
So,
fees.
And
Right.
franchise fees, monthly fees, so
Transaction fees.
everybody,
like everything.
Yeah, so like Aaron said, right? So I see that everybody wants more, and this company allows everybody to get more in every way possible.
Not
right?
only money.
Not only money, because all right, so the split is amazing, right? 85, 15, $12,000 cap, no monthly fee, right? So that will entice people, but there's even ways that you can earn stock, and even from if you pay the cap plus $6,000 in transaction, right? Then you pay the company $18,000. But if you sell, which means you sell roughly about 30 houses, they'll give you $16,000 back in company stock.
Right.
So for me, it's an opportunity to build wealth and retirement fund, because we
Right.
all know that realtors don't have insurance, they don't have investment accounts like when you work for corporate America and so forth, right?
Right.
And then the rev share, it allows you to build a team, and because Real in New York, I think there's only about 250 agents, and that's like in the whole entire state.
Right.
So the opportunity to grow and to be a part of that, seeing it where it's at now, and I can already see like where it's going to be by the end of this year and the next 5 years, and those are the things that excite me, right?
Right.
I can drive around and like envision real signs all over Nassau County on people's lawns. Like right now, there's a handful of them, but there's going to be hundreds of, like thousands of them in the next couple of years, because it makes sense. Because I think it really addresses all the issues that agents have
With the current
with
brokerage and
current
model.
brokerage.
Yeah.
And with that being said, like, I'm not the agent that moves around. In 20 years, I've been at 3 companies.
Right.
So I haven't been the one chasing more money or anything like that. And it wasn't just about the money. It's really the opportunity to collaborate. Even 20 years in, I feel like I'm learning a lot
Right.
since
I joined Real.
It's a community is a big piece of this. That, we're not just we're not just thousands of agents who all are under the same umbrella, right? We have a community. And when you're interacting with other real agents from all over the country and from Canada, it's like you are friends, even though you just met.
Right.
Everybody is willing to help. Everybody's willing to collaborate. Everyone shares. There's so many resources available. So, if you're a brand new agent and you don't really know anything, you can find everything that you need to know.
Right.
And you can connect with so many people and get anything that you need to know. So there really is an actual real culture with Real that I haven't seen in a cloud-based company at all.
Gotcha.
Ever. Like we have core values. We care about people. We care about the people we work with. We care about our clients a lot. We care about being better every day. And I think that's important to be a part of a community where all of you actually do care about everyone involved.
Right.
It's not
I think that's
who's
one
going to
of the-
eat whose dinner.
I think that's one of the things that we have as a team is like every single person, whether it's the loan officers, the processors, the processing managers, everybody that touches that file cares a lot. Sometimes it almost hurts us because it's hard to move on from those L's and get over those emotions when you care so much, and you're trying to get better. So I can relate with the importance of that, like being at the front of like the decision, right? Joining an organization with people who actually care is like probably top 3, So now tell me a little bit about the office that you guys are creating and where you guys plan on taking this.
So remember, this is a cloud-based company, so to have brick and mortar is
Uncommon.
We are the first Long Island office. We will have a second one in Suffolk. It will probably remain that way for quite some time, at least. So we kind of have that one-stop shop for everything. So even though we're cloud-based, technology-based, we're going to have the brick and mortar. We're located on Broadway in Massapequa. A lot of the reasons why we wanted to have an office, because the 3 of us sitting here all do like to work out of the office, even though, 50% of the time we're on the road, so that you got your mobile office. You could work at home, but then we could always come back, and we could still be doing trainings there. We could have agents come in when they want, so to us, and I think Rebecca hit on it earlier, when she first started her career, she was coming to work, she was showing up.
Right.
She was showing up every single day, being around agents, being around conversations, hearing the phone, bouncing off ideas and stuff like that. And that grew her. Like, I watched it happen. That was the coolest thing. I watched someone come in, have no idea what the hell they were doing.
I really thought that real estate was like a TV show when I started. I really did. Like, I was like, this is going to be great.
And then
like, I'm going to put on really nice shoes, drive a nice car, and sell houses.
Gil has a day like you did yesterday, and you're like, this isn't, I'm not Ryan Serhant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
and funny, Ryan actually did our first Real convention. Yeah. He was one of the speakers there, and not affiliated with Real at all, but he came in and he talked about a day like that.
Right.
And an experience like that. And he hit it, and like it hit it home. His price points are a lot bigger than ours.
Right.
But still, like,
when he loses the deal, it's like
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to move on from,
harder.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the idea with the office too is that the one thing that somebody could say about our motto is you don't have an office. So we wanted to set it up where there's no negative. So now if you want an office, we have an office. There's actually about 7 total offices in New York right now. So people that want to come in and they say, well, what if the person wants to come see me? We have a conference room. We have a private office in the back. We have a lounge or the hangout spot, and we could just be casual. And then there's workstations. And you can always, like, if you just want to come in and pick our brain and just meet with someone locally, you can.
Right.
And even though Real has so much training, like,
there's probably a mastermind going on right
listen,
now as we
like
speak.
Mastermind after mastermind that if you tune in, you can't get any work done. So you got to pick a couple a week that you really want to learn about. But like, we just rolled out the training at like a 12-week schedule. So the agents, it's all scheduled Wednesdays at 2:00. So it's kind of like also when we deal with sellers, my mentality, I always at a listing appointment, I say I cover everything from old school tactics like postcards, and then now the social media. So now we have an office also that can cater to everybody that wants an office and cloud-based with the technology, because basically with our technology we could run our entire business or from our cell phone.
Right.
Transaction coordination, compliance stuff. I went to the mall with a sweatshirt the other day. We have our logos all on Workplace, and they started doing a shirt embroidery for me. Like anything you could think of, you could do on the go from your phone.
It's amazing the tech that we have. Actually, it's the best in every real estate situation I've ever been in. This is the best technology I have ever been provided with.
Yeah.
And it makes my life easier.
At no cost.
Yeah.
Right.
And it keeps getting better.
I think
They're building more. So it's amazing, the tech.
I think the whole office space, right? I think the future of the workplace is what you guys are describing, where it's like it's an option to come into the office because of the perks that come along with it, such as community, collaboration, training, social. But it's not like you have to be in front of a computer to work.
Right.
So I think that hybrid
Yeah.
is what, I mean, especially after COVID, the world is pushing towards. So your move and what you guys are building makes complete sense to me. It's not only in line with our industry, but it's in line with like the world and where it's going. There's floors and floors and floors and thousands of square feet in New York City right now that is not being used. Like 0 people are going to.
Right.
And they're looking to convert them to condos and residential space.
Yeah.
Because companies need to understand. Like I actually work very well from home. I don't have kids, so maybe
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Right.
Definitely.
Or you have a dog though. Is it?
I don't have a dog.
Oh.
He's at my dad's house. Yeah. I can work with Cass. Cass and me, we'll be all right.
They're
But
kind of loners.
Yeah.
yeah, he'll annoy the crap out of me. I'll take him out, and then that's he's good. But
Georgie's not like that yet.
no, not your dog.
No.
So
Still a pup.
I think I work very well from home. However, when I think about like the culture that I want to build within my organization, part of that plan is like FaceTime, not iPhone FaceTime, like, face to face, because like it's very hard to build a culture without that. Even though, Real already has one itself, but as far as your local market and the agents that you're bringing on, imagine you just never saw them, how hard it would be to like build those core principles and build relationships with them. There's a reason why people still show up sometimes, but I think that hybrid is what the world is going towards.
Yeah. So yesterday we had a meeting, about 5 or 6 people in person, and then the rest were
On Zoom.
Right. And we're all there with our computers so we can see each other on Zoom and in person, right?
Right.
So, but
Did you see that? Did you look at that vibe board I told you about? Don't look, because you will
You
buy it.
said-
It's
Yeah, I think
$3,000.
you either said you were gonna send it or you sent it, and I dismissed it right away because I knew that.
Yeah, you're gonna
You
buy
did.
it.
Yeah.
This is not a paid advertisement. I want it so bad. The advertisement follows me on Facebook, and there's nowhere to put it in my office. We ran out of space, which is a whole nother topic. But it was a pleasure talking to you guys. I'm thoroughly impressed with all 3 of you. I've known all 3 of you for quite some time, and it doesn't like the amount of respect that I have for you guys only continues to grow as I work with you all more and see what you're doing and your vision is. And I know you guys are going to do great things, so I'm happy to be a part of it in any way. But I appreciate you guys for being on.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
for
us.
Thank you for having
It
us.
was great. And we can't wait for brewery.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't announce it yet, but it will be coming soon.